ZyNerd is built by non-medicos, but we are 100% supporting medicos. How do you look at this?
ZyNerd was not built by non-medicos.
Okay.
ZyNerd was purely built by feedback from doctors. Misinformation shared to save preferred seats. I am interested in radio diagnosis. If I tell someone that this is not a field that is going to grow, I will get a radio diagnosis seat.
So one student said, I am a FMG candidate, I came here, but I don't have seniors. In that sense, like how do they look for information? They say preparing for PG is only 50% of the game. The rest is preparing for the counselling.
So I wouldn't say 50%. I would still say preparing for PG is a very tough part of the game. That is the core of everything. But beyond that, yes, counselling is very important.
Why should they trust ZyNerd?
Your queries will be answered. You don't need to rely on anyone else. Your data requirements will be answered. You don't need to rely on anyone else. Is the way we move forward.
Right. And there is a quote which says, if a product is free, then you are the product. What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't say that if a product is free, it is not good.
Right.
We were also providing free information.
Right.
At that time, it was
Right.
good.
Hi Ashok.
Hi.
Welcome to the ZyNerd podcast.
Hi, Noel.
For people who don't know about you, you can just give us a small introduction about yourself and about ZyNerd.
I'm Ashok. Along with Advocacy, my co-founder, we started ZyNerd. It was purely by coincidence that we started ZyNerd. So Anto and I started this in 2021, but since 2014, I have been helping out candidates who are aspirants, PG aspirants basically, to guide them into the process of counselling, the entire process of counselling. 2017 onwards, I was in a Facebook group, which was an All India Facebook group, where I used to share PDFs, and the data that I had shared was useful for a lot of candidates. So since then, many candidates had the confidence to use the data. So we thought it will be better if there is a tech platform built in to help the students, and we started ZyNerd. Right.
So both of you are non-medicos, and but you have built a platform for the medicos, in support of the medicos. How do you look at that? Because there are a lot of comments saying ZyNerd is built by non-medicos, but we are 100% supporting medicos. How do you look at this?
ZyNerd was not built by non-medicos.
Okay.
ZyNerd was purely built by feedback from doctors.
Okay.
So over the 4 years since we were in the All India group, there was a lot of feedback on how PDFs made it time intensive basically.
Right.
So there's a lot of time spent, etc. So we always thought how it would help for us, as in we used to answer a lot of queries. I used to answer queries on what was the possibility, how to approach the counselling. For me, I felt that technology would have helped in saving a lot of time. I used to spend 6-7 hours daily. Now, so how do we bring in the technology to help me was the first thought process. Now, a lot of doctors gave feedback that it is the same problem that they are also facing, and if there is a better method, it always saves time, helps them put effort into anything other than data in evaluating choices, specialties, etc. That is how we started this entire thing. It was purely built on doctors' feedback, and over the last many years too, since 2021, once we started ZyNerd, we have received probably around 500 to 600 different suggestions from doctors, of which at most 50% we have implemented. So this is purely built on feedback from doctors, suggestions from doctors, and we have a large set of doctors who work with us every year to tell us that this is what is required. Some areas we have not been able to fulfill, we know, especially in terms of specialty evaluation, because expertise is required. We don't get into that.
Right. And so you come from a data kind of background, and Anto comes from a tech background. And you have kind of used what you are actually really good at, like from a data side and tech side. And that's how like ZyNerd comes in, with a lot of feedback from the doctors. Right. So let's go into something a bit more interesting. So there is a lot of misinformation online. That is kind of the reason why we are doing this podcast. There are a lot of misinformation online. There are a lot of ZyNerd clones online, and there are lots of scam and people who are misleading candidates. And one thing is like, how can students be aware of all this? because there is obviously a cost which comes into play in this. Because when students look up data on YouTube or on other websites, it will not be accurate, and there will not be like comprehensive information. So it comes at a cost. So what are something that students should be aware of when approaching all this?
When you look at data for the entire counseling process, you are trying to possibly ensure that you get a seat that your rank deserves. Basically, that is what you're trying to do. So I have a rank. What is the best seat that I can get? You look for information. First, the information should be very accurate, correct? There are YouTube channels which give accurate information, but the number of such channels is very, very less. And whether that is comprehensive for you to get that, to use that information, to know exactly whether this is right or not, whether you will be able to trust that for a long period of time, that is a question. The same goes with a lot of guidance that is offered too. So if we take most of the guidance, one, it comes in terms of counselors, etc. That is where everything starts. You need guidance. You either go to a counselor, you go to a mentor who's a senior, etc. First thing is you pay an amount to the counselor. The intention is to actually support you versus the intention is to possibly be on the institute side to get you admitted in the institute is something that you will have to evaluate from a counselor's perspective. Second, whether the data that is provided to you and beyond the data, everybody thinks that it is just data. Beyond the data, the entire strategy during the counseling in terms of using the data for decisions, the rules, regulations, etc., the processes, what you shouldn't miss out throughout the counseling, whether that is offered is the value that you need to correlate with. Next, you have a lot of middlemen agents, etc., or brokers. So in today's context, if you look at it, there are a lot of people who connect with candidates and tell them that I'll be able to get you an admission in a particular institute. Noel, every allotment happens online, except for 1 or 2 states in the last 2 rounds. Few rounds, possibly Goa and Madhya Pradesh. There are 1 or 2 rounds which are offline. Every other allotment happens online. Nobody will be able to get you an allotment beating the process because everything is published, everything is transparent today. So that way, if somebody is approached by an agent or a middleman saying, I'll be able to block this seat for you, candidates fall for that, which is something which is what we see over a long period of time happens because of pressure too. Beyond this, you have information available online in terms of websites which give previous year's information, last year's information, don't update the information. And when there is a critical need during the process of counseling, rounds happening, updated information is what helps you take decisions. That is not updated, so that is another part to it. And lastly, another critical thing that we notice is that you go to whom you go for guidance. This is beyond the cost part too. There are many candidates who ask for guidance in Telegram groups, social media, and they are guided by peers. Because they are under pressure, they look for some guidance. Rightly, this guidance should be given by PGs who are actually working, or better by faculties or those doctors who are practicing in that specialty. But they look for guidance in groups. What happens is, while many of the doctors try to help them, there are 2 different information issues that happen. One, somebody tries to help them, but the person who is trying to help them does not have the right information. Because they would have got information from someone else, they don't know the source, etc. So they give some information that this specialty is good in this hospital, but that would have been second-hand information. Second, there is a conscious misguidance that happens. Misinformation shared to save preferred seats. I am interested in radio diagnosis. If I tell someone that this is not a field that is going to grow, I will get a radio diagnosis seat. This also we see. So we always say that when you're going for guidance, evaluate it properly, know what is offered, the value for the cost that is involved, and then take a call. Primarily, how do you get that? Just ask for feedback from previous year candidates. That is
Correct. And there might be people like who don't have access to it. Like there was a story, I think one of our feedback for ZyNerd, so one student said, I am a FMG candidate, I came here, but I don't have seniors. In that sense, like how do they look for information?
See, it is not just seniors. I don't have seniors is not the right way to look at it. So if I am going to choose a seat, most of the seats today would have been available last year, except for 5 to 10% of new seats. So you would obviously go back to that particular institute, at least have a conversation with a postgraduate who is studying there. not very easy,
Right.
but still if you are able to put in that effort over the 1.5 months before the counseling, you would be able to do that.
Right.
That is one part. Second, if you're looking at a specialty evaluation, or if you're looking at institutes that have been there for a long time, you will have a lot of pass outs,
Right.
a lot of practitioners who have passed out from that particular institute or in that specialty that you can rely on. It need not necessarily be your senior. Third, if it is a new institute, even in that case, a new institute would have a department that has been functioning for a long time.
Right.
It is a feedback on the department, the faculty, and how possibly academics is going to be. That can be taken even from the current new institute.
Right.
So, but the only thing is that effort needs to be put in before the counseling or before you decide on your choices.
Right. So the best way to avoid all this is directly connecting with the seniors who are studying in that institute.
Correct.
Get
The
direct
best way is
information.
to avoid peer feedback. That is what I would say.
Okay. Not even from, like, for example, someone you know might be studying there.
Yeah, that is
That
seniors
is-
feedback.
that is fine.
That is always seniors feedback. That you can rely on. But
Right.
even in that case, we also give additional inputs. One, talk to your seniors, possibly from your state,
Your state.
because you will also have that additional advantage of knowing how that works in that particular institute. Second, also talk to one or two seniors in the same institute, because the perception differs between one individual and another. So always get feedback, multiple feedback from the same institute.
So you have mentioned a lot of things. One is where students get information, but it is not intentional. They are not getting misinformation intentionally. And somewhere you said that it is happening with some thought process behind. It is happening intentionally to get for them to get some advantage. Do you know any situations like this that has happened?
Oh, so you look at our Telegram groups, every year this happens.
Okay.
You look at a particular state, one of the biggest issues with moderating a Telegram group, we run around one All India group and all the 30 Telegram groups. Today, almost all of them who are participating in the counseling get much of the information from our Telegram groups. So when we run that, our biggest problem with moderation is ensuring that wrong information is not shared. It is a very big problem because when some information is shared, we have to validate it. And when we validated it and mention that this is wrong, don't go by this, there is also a reaction from those who are trying to share misinformation. So every year, even now, if you see about a particular state, about a particular specialty, there will be discussions going on. So we make it a practice that any discussion on specialty or state or a seat, we always tag on saying, please take feedback from candidates from that institute, and we suggest to the individual that not to share any such feedback in our groups. So limited to rules, regulations, process related information. And we have a lot of candidates every year coming back saying thanks for this because we went for feedback from somebody else and then later got to understand from the actual seniors that it is a very good institute and we have joined there. So
Right. There are so many such cases, and there is also in the recent years. I mean, ZyNerd was kind of the pioneer, right? Who brought this tech and counseling in the same platform. So we were able to bring the data. We were able to visualize it, and now there are a lot of clones who are or free alternatives that are available. Can you speak about that a bit?
Okay, so one on the clones. Clones, there are two types of clones we have.
Okay.
We have around 13 to 14 websites which exactly clone our data.
Okay.
As in basically they take in a subscription, they clone our data. I'm not sure whether we should be happy about it or not. One thing that we are happy about it, they have been doing it for many years, which means they trust the data in ZyNerd. Even the clones, they are not able to prepare the data, they trust the data that we provide, and that goes into say how accurate ZyNerd's data is. Second, we have clones who have copied our entire format, try to work with their data basically. So that is also something that is happening. The entire way we present data, the UI, UX, everything has been copied. But there are still a lot of nuances. Data is not very easy. We have a team of around 10 people purely working on data, 20 people who are sourcing data. So 15 sourcing and then another 5 for getting the knowledge base interpretations right. So this entire team works on data and then brings in data. So that level of expertise to create, it has already taken around 7 years of my expertise plus another 4 years of our going ahead with this tech plus expertise part. So that is very difficult to clone. There might be free data available, but possibly catching up is very difficult. And second, it is not just about the UI, UX and formats, it's about the expertise that we carry in terms of data.
So when you say data, what are things that these free alternatives are offering that they have copied from ZyNerd?
So most of them offer the data part basically. So they offer the earlier years historical data. So 2023 and 24 is what you will see in most of these clones, because we currently have only 2024, 23, 24 data available. The data is cloned from last year, and beyond that possibly the features like creating a choice list, etc., are cloned by most of them. What is not possible to clone is the expertise part, like I said. So most of them will have a skeleton so that they can use that as a feature when they talk to the students. Most of them are counselors, etc., who talk to the students, so they use that.
Okay, and this data, can you explain what this data is?
Okay, so when it comes to data, we have almost have everything that we build with our expertise as data. Okay. So when I refer to it from a competitor website's perspective, what I was mentioning was in terms of allotments, closing ranks, allotments or closing ranks, which is the cutoffs at which a particular seats closed last year. Second, in terms of the fee, stipend, bond of institutes. So this is the major part of the data that is available outside. So beyond that, we have our data in terms of rules, regulations, the eligibility, certificates and documents required, and an entire set of resources that we have done, our interpretations of every rule, etc. So that is possibly still lies with our team, and that is not available outside.
Correct. And initially, like right now, this data is available on our portal in a format which students can interact with. Right? They'll be able to filter and all that. And earlier, you were saying something about the PDFs.
Correct.
PDFs that were being shared, and even now, even in Telegram groups, they'll be like, "Hey, share this PDF" and all that. What is the story behind that?
Okay, so basically the PDFs too, as in today we have, when we say PDFs, there are two types of levels of information that they have. One is a raw PDF that is shared by MCC. So the MCC or the state allotment portal, that is possibly not formatted. You convert it to an Excel, you have to do a lot of work to get it converted to a proper format where closing ranks are available. Second, even if a PDF is available in the form of closing ranks, in fact, the thing is, the first time PDFs came in as closing ranks, it was in, we shared it in 2017 in the portals. I used to work on it, and those PDFs used to be used for 4 years. The entire reason why we shifted to ZyNerd as a tech platform was because PDFs were very difficult, it was time consuming and based on feedback from doctors. So these PDFs would have the closing ranks. But all of these we should understand is one, historical data. Second, to take information from that, it takes hours. So that is something that takes away your time for something which should be done otherwise, basically within seconds.
Right.
Instead of concentrating on something as critical as preparing your choices, you spend all your time on trying to pull out data. So that is where the PDFs to the filterable or tabular format data comes in. So we have an UI or UX where all data is filterable, instantly data is available. This is for 2023 and 24. All the information that is required beyond the fee, stipend and bond, all the remarks and the seat discontinuation penalties, the deductions, etc. Everything is available. Now, this is not just about 2023-24. 2023-24 is partial data that you use before round one.
But just a reference.
Correct. It is a reference to get your choices ready for round one. You fill in your choices from round one. The real competition starts after round one. Once round one is done, you need your allotments, your closing ranks again, the entire information of the trends to analyze and take decisions, because you can upgrade till round 3.
Correct.
That it is difficult to clone, or anybody has to wait for ZyNerd's data to get it cloned.
Correct.
And if that information is not accurate, then you might possibly tend to take wrong decisions. That is why we put in a lot of effort to have a proper practice of having a 3-level evaluation mechanism, validation mechanism for the entire data before we put in data in.
Right. And this kind of answers why ZyNerd cannot be free. Like there is to play devil's advocate, it'll be like, okay, the allotment is coming in a PDF format. ZyNerd is just putting in their portal, right? That is something which people say. But why can't ZyNerd give it for free? is, I mean, you have touched up few points. Is there anything that you want to add beyond that?
It is extremely difficult. So initially when we started, as in basically my first 4 years, 5 years, it was available for free. The PDFs were available for free till 2021 till we started signing.
You are putting your time
Correct.
providing
It was available free.
free.
The intention was never to basically start an organization like ZyNerd to provide data.
Right.
So after that, what we did was we started this platform and primarily we piloted it free.
Right.
So we realized that there was a lot of feedback from doctors saying that there are a lot of other things that might be required which will be helpful. I want the fee, stipend and bond of every institute clearly listed down. I want support in terms of rules, regulations, etc. Create those videos and tell us or provide us support on calls. So we started building our team that way. As in, so from initially, from possibly from where we started initially, we are at around twice the price, to be very honest. But that has come in because currently we have a team of around 15 members who has just source data. We have a team of around 8 who interpret data. So to the lowest possible extent, if you looking at our Telegram responses, every query would have been answered to the dot. Basically what you want is clearly answered. That has come in because of a team which works on every line item. If there is a change in an article in a prospectus between last year and this year, we figure out why that changes and why it was mentioned. So that level of expertise is added. Then we have a lot of videos put in. We have around 350 videos of last year. For last year, we might possibly end up at around higher numbers this year. These are all explanatory videos so that no one misses out any detail. If you look at 350 videos, possibly 6-7 days of time in terms of watch hours itself. Somebody who is interested might watch around 20-25 hours of videos. The effort that goes into an 1 hour video is around 3-4 hours. So that takes in a lot of effort. A media team of 5 people, a team which creates all the content for everyone, comparing last year versus this year, etc. And we have a call support team to add it to basically help students for clarity. After watching all the videos, if you have any queries, we have a call support team. So last year we had around 7 to 8 people in the call support, and we did not expect such a huge response to ZyNerd last year. It was excellent. So, but the waiting times were there. So we have scaled it up to around 20 people now, which means the waiting times are less. Immediately you will be able to connect to someone and to generate that expertise for those people. All of them are very subject matter experts in the sense they've been trained really well, people who can respond, who can think, etc. So that is the level of support that is provided. So it is not that 2023-24 data. Beyond that, there is a lot added. When it is added, it is a cost. If there are maybe, let us say, another 20-30 people, we will still be able to do far better to give every candidate every detail. The reason why we might not expand more is because we want to price it at this. We don't want to go beyond this. So for the cost, there is an effort that is put in and that provides a value. That is how we look at it.
Yeah, I think behind every answer or query that is being cleared, there are a lot of people who are working behind the scenes to get that information. Like it is not just your effort.
No, it is not.
There is a whole team working with you to provide that.
Yeah, there are around 60 of us who work together to ensure that every detail reaches everyone. See, if you look at it, the way we interpret is also very different from others. Like let us say last year, the Jammu and Kashmir, to give you an example, the Jammu and Kashmir bond policy was implemented. Everywhere it was news that J&K had implemented the bond policy. You go to ChatGPT, put up a query, ChatGPT would have told you possibly that Jammu and Kashmir has implemented the bond policy because Times of India said that Jammu and Kashmir had implemented a bond policy, right? So you go anywhere, that was a rule. We went ahead, looked at the exact scenario and we clearly knew that was a representation from candidates and that representation has been taken up, but the policy was yet to be implemented. Now, this is information that we provide to candidates. This year too, there have been proposal from Jammu and Kashmir to implement the policy. It is at the final stages where the finance department is to give an approval. You go to any particular group today, JK bond policy has been implemented is what you will see. But with our expertise, we will be able to clearly say that there has to be another final GO that has to go through, then the policy is implemented, then we would put it up in ZyNerd. And we look at the source. Till we have a final confirmation in terms of a source, a GO, terms of the prospectus mentioning it, we don't put it up in ZyNerd or we keep asking questions. That that is a lot of effort and a lot of expertise. That requires a
Right. Okay. So we saw the amount of effort that goes into bringing the data to the students, and but there are a lot of platforms which are copying the ZyNerd data and they are providing it for free, right? So what are some things that students should know about and the limitations of these platforms?
So one thing is, see, when there is a value or a cost associated with something,
Right.
you always tend to be very, very responsible.
Right.
It is not to say that earlier we were not responsible when we were offering free data.
Right.
We were definitely looking at making
Right.
it accurate, etc.
Right.
But for someone who is offering it free, there might not be that urge to provide exactly right data in terms of value.
Right.
Second, it is not only about what data you provide, but beyond that, what all can you expand to is something that we are very passionate about.
Right.
That comes in from the fact that we think on, at this cost, what is the maximum value that can be offered to a candidate.
Right.
Accuracy of data is something that is very important.
Right.
And beyond the accuracy of data, what all is required for the counseling is another thing.
Right.
Okay, so beyond the data, what is required for the counseling is
Right.
updates throughout the counseling, the notifications, etc., and the strategy during the counseling.
Right.
For that, whether that is there is support in terms of videos, etc., there is support in terms of information and how to use the information to take the decisions.
Right.
There's support when you're joining and when you're upgrading and when you're choosing between multiple counselings. So that is also very critical.
Right.
One choice makes a difference.
Right.
One choice up is like 4 marks extra, what you put into coaching. You're putting in hours of coaching into two questions, etc. extra, that comes in from this. So that is something that adds a lot of value. And when there is somebody to guide you or mentor you throughout, in terms of rules, regulations, eligibility, certificates, documents, processes, we can go on. So if there is somebody to guide you, you pick up your phone, call someone says, okay, this is the way it should work, this is the rule, and you're confident and you can trust that person throughout the counseling, your 4 months process is very, very smooth. So that is something that you need to look at when you consider something that is free versus something. Fundamentally, I'll put it this way. It is not free versus a cost. Let us say 4,000, 5,000.
Right.
It is about 4,500 versus the better seat that I am getting versus free versus what seat I get. So that is the kind of comparison that I would make.
Right. And this is a sentiment that a lot of PG students bring in, because when they go through the UG counseling, it is kind of simple in the sense they have to prioritize the college selection. But when it comes to PG, they say preparing for PG is only 50% of the game. The rest is preparing for the counseling.
So I wouldn't say 50%. I would still say preparing for PG is a very tough part of the game. That is the core of everything. But beyond that, yes, counseling is very important. It definitely makes a difference. It is not very difficult, but it is very, very critical, because the decisions you make might get you better seats. Basically, it is also basically directly correlated to your career. So giving an importance to that is very, very important. And there you have 2 parts to it. One in terms of expertise, which comes in. A lot of queries have come in on how you address everything without medical expertise, correct? So that is something that you asked to initially. You don't have any medical expertise. What are you getting into? Why are you getting into counseling process, etc.? We look at it purely as a process. I'll tell you how the entire counseling works and quickly tell you where we come in. So it starts with your rank. You look at allotments, closing ranks. You decide that these are the seats that are available for me, and then you prepare the choice list. Note this, you prepare the choice list. You decide on which counselings that I am going to get into based on the eligibility. You know the registration for the counselling, you know the process of counselling, you know the rules of the counselling, then fill in your choices. The choices that you have prepared, you fill in. Then you get into a particular institute, you choose between all India and state counsellings, you understand the rules, then join, go with your documents, you upgrade to a better institute, you stop your counseling somewhere where you get your best seat. For that, throughout, you will have to make decisions based on updated data throughout the counseling process. Decisions based on which counseling will get me the better seat, and what are the rules if I go there, what are the penalties, what is the forfeiture, whether I will be able to move to further rounds. In this entire process of around 4 to 5 months, allotments, closing ranks, preparing of choices requires expertise in terms of specialty evaluation. Correct? So the preparation of choices, somebody takes it up with a person who has medical expertise, a practitioner, a doctor. Getting the base choice list is done through ZyNerd. The preparation of choices is something that we do not get into. We have a base rank order based on last year's candidates' preferences, but we always suggest that we don't do seat evaluation because we don't have the right expertise. In the absence of any information, come to ZyNerd and pick up somebody else's preference. But you always put in your 1.5 months effort into getting the choice list ready through someone. The rest of the process, which would have otherwise taken you 2 months, 3 months to master, helps you in taking decisions. Is very, very simple with ZyNerd. That is where ZyNerd comes in, which is purely process related, nothing to do with the specialty expertise. Instead of medical seats, if you put in engineering seats over there, still it is the same process you will adopt, except for the specialty evaluation part. Specialty evaluation, we still insist you do with practitioners, not even with peers. Like I said, do with practitioners, do with faculty, senior PGs, and you do it. Don't give it to somebody else. Don't give it to ZyNerd is what we say. But the rest, complete 80-90% of the process, if you do it with ZyNerd, we will save you at least 1.5 months of that effort. And you can put it on the specialty evaluation, which is very critical. That is how we work. That is why medical expertise is outside our scope. But the rest of the processes, we are excellent. We are proud to say that possibly everybody uses our videos, our expertise to generate their expertise today.
And you're essentially saying that one is by using ZyNerd, you have a peace of mind, because we have put in a lot of work to get the accurate data, and there is a lot of effort which goes into updating the data. You don't get outdated data, right? And one is time saving, obviously. So even though there is a cost involved, you can be sure that you are getting the updated and right data.
So forget the efforts put in. Let there be no efforts. But if you are able to trust the data and go ahead, that is the first thing. You are able to trust the data because possibly you have had feedback from last year's students, and it has gone through 20,000 students' feedback of last year. So basically all of them had validated our data. If there had been an issue with the data, we have had 1 or 2 issues, not to say that there have not been any issues. We've had 1 or 2 issues, but out of 10 lakh data points, we try our level best to get it 100%. So when that trust is there, only then somebody would have given you feedback that ZyNerd is good, go ahead with ZyNerd. So with that feedback and with that validation, it is not only our validation of 20,000 students, we get into the next year, you'll still be able to trust the data and say that, okay, this data, this interpretation of rules, I can go ahead and take the right decisions. That adds on a lot of value, reduces the pressure, and helps you put in efforts on what you need to put in effort on, and not on other stuff which possibly require a different level of expertise.
And so this students have a question: who do we trust? Why should they trust ZyNerd? Like in terms of accuracy and in terms of updating the information. Can you share the effort that goes behind it?
More than the effort, I'll tell you first. The first thing is the passion that we have in order to give the best for the candidates. So we've been doing this right from the beginning to ensure that possibly everything that we can give to the candidates, we would give. Even during the sessions, during the process of counseling for a particular year, if there are suggestions, we try our level best to implement all the suggestions. Now, in terms of how we can represent data. The best thing is how we have formulated a mechanism to view the data. Today, if you look at the recent clones too, as in those who are trying to copy it free, the format or the structure is exactly the same. So whoever wants to be the best also follows this, and we are also trying to do it better in terms of new ways to represent data, etc. That is one thing. So you will be able to quickly look at it. You might be spending 1-2 days on getting to understand every feature, but you will be able to quickly look at data and then move forward. The representation and the comprehensiveness of the data. We have almost every data available and every rule, every regulation available in ZyNerd. So that helps you move forward when you're going ahead with the counseling. Your queries will be answered. You don't need to rely on anyone else. Your data requirements will be answered. You don't need to rely on anyone else. Is the way we move forward.
And can you share few examples of where like ZyNerd data outshines all these free alternatives?
Examples in the sense, there are not many examples of outshining because most of it is ZyNerd data. So, but otherwise we can tell you basically, previous years data, how we had sourced the data, we can tell you. So for instance, Bihar Bihar PG or UG counseling for that matter, primarily for PG counseling.
Right.
From 2020 onwards, they have never published the Bihar results.
Right.
For any round, you don't get to know who was taken up. If you have filled in a choice, you will be left in the dark. You didn't get a choice,
Right.
or you got a choice. Who above you, whether
Correct,
they have done it transparently, you wouldn't know. So last 3 years we have put in efforts. 2022, 23, 24 we have put in efforts.
Right.
Multiple RTAs to Bihar. Even then, we used to get the data at the end of the counseling. So 2023 counseling ended. 2024 February we used to get the data. There's no point. Because at the end of the counseling, when we get the data, the time has passed, you will not be able to take decisions.
Right.
So in 2024, again, we put in that effort. We ensured that we appealed again and again. And 2024 for the first year where Bihar, every round was notified, the data was put in
Right.
immediately after the round results were published. We would file an RTA 15 days prior, knowing that this is the time that it will reach the correct authority. We'll call up the authority, intimate that we have put in once the results are published. They publish the data for every round. So similarly for Rajasthan, we had done that in previous years.
Right.
For MBBS, if you look at it, many states don't share the data. We have done it for previous years.
Right.
So this effort finally culminates into the data that we have. But what happened for Bihar for last year is, initially there was a lot of negative comments on Bihar state group itself, saying that ZyNerd is not providing the Bihar data. This efforts, we cannot take it to the candidates. We cannot tell them that we are trying to do it and we have tried, finally got that for you. And this year we will try our level best to do it. So we pass through that, but we know that the efforts are very important, because ultimately whether ZyNerd exists or not, at some point in time there is a process built in so that everything is transparent.
Right. And we also go through a lot of, when it comes to registration process, right? It is not, some states make it very complicated. There is a lot of things that you will need to understand prior to registering so that you register properly. Even when I was handling UG, there were cases where we'll get queries saying, sir, what to put for this category? I don't know what this means and all that. I think there were cases like Karnataka and so on. So how do we handle that?
Registration is a simple process. It is not a very difficult process, or rather it is supposed to be a simple process, very simple process. Nothing much. You enter your details, give your documents, they are supposed to put you as add you as part of the merit list. That is a process. But if you look at it, some states have multiple quotas, and there is a necessity for them to get as much information as possible to validate your candidature. Now here, if we take the example of Karnataka, for instance, what we usually tell candidates is the entire process will be smooth as far as registration is concerned. If you have any queries, please call us. But on the day Karnataka registration starts, our entire team would have been trained like a war room to get all the queries from Karnataka registering candidates. Why? We know that Karnataka's registration is as much complicated as cracking NEET PG. We tell that in our videos too. So be ready for that. But we have queries, answers to every queries. So what we do is, see, for example, in last year we had a particular error coming up in Karnataka saying in-service candidate registration is not right. So initially there was a lot of problem. Nobody was able to figure out why this error is coming in, and many candidates couldn't register. Some candidates it was not there, some candidates it was there. We ran simulations saying, picking up candidates, taking help from candidates on changing every field. In around 200 fields are there that you need to fill, changing every field and trying to figure out which field is creating this input and which field is creating this error. We finally figured out that if you did not save your photograph somewhere, an in-service error was popping up because somebody had returned code like that. So we finally were able to take back to the candidates that, so okay, if you are actually having this error, go back and save your photograph. That is where the error is. So this kind of effort when we put in, the candidate would have a simple answer to that, and their time would be saved instead of trying to figure out, and the pressure during that will be relieved a lot. So that happens only in a few counselings and registration, but that effort is required. So all you need to do is call up ZyNerd and ask if there is a solution for the error. We would connect with candidates to try to figure out, and we'll give you a solution. That is how we work.
And we spoke a lot about data. So let's look at something beyond data, because data is something that you spoke about the effort that goes in, multiple levels of validation and all that. So beyond data, there are also cases where counseling updates keep coming. Where let's say in PG you had said that a lot of candidates attend multiple counselings. to keep track of all the updates that comes and also interpretation of that updates is very difficult. And what we have a team which daily checks the notifications, and an interpretation is given on our dashboard itself and all that. Can you speak a little bit about that?
So once the counseling starts, you start getting notifications. Last year, I think around 3,000 plus notifications
Right.
might have been there, or
Yeah.
at least around 100, 150 notifications per counseling.
Right.
So what we do is we have like I said, we have a team of 15 people working on notifications, another 8 who are working purely on interpretation of notifications, experts who work on that. So every notification comes in and that is notified to the candidate. That is one part of it. You would know for Telangana or Andhra Pradesh, we know that at round 3s, etc., they'll put up a notification at 10 o'clock at night, and the next day morning would be the last time of choice filling for stray rounds or other rounds. So we will know that this is how it happens. We will ensure that candidates are intimated with a pop-up, etc., that this is what is happening. Immediately, you might have a few hours to Karnataka extends for 2 hours, 3 hours. Those need to be taken to the candidates. But beyond that, there is also the interpretation of the notification. The notification comes in, the team checks that, compares it with previous year's notifications, what is different, compares it with the current prospectus, what is different, and then if there is a note required, that is taken to the candidate, and if there is a case that happens, and that is an interpretation based on the case, what is the case, who is impacted, how will it impact your journey, all that needs to be taken to the candidate. So basically, if I am attending the counseling, whatever I need as information is also something that needs to be taken to the candidate. So that is done by a larger team, and that is done for every counseling, every notification across. So that is an effort that goes in, but I think it is for the candidate, when they go into ZyNerd, click on let us say Uttar Pradesh counseling. Uttar Pradesh has two different websites, one for the counseling, one for registration, one for the counseling registration and choice filling, and another for notifications. And the notifications part includes PG, MD, MBBS, and all other notifications. Here, come into ZyNerd, go to UP, select, you have the announcements, you have the notifications, your deadlines are clearly in place, you know the deadlines, and the interpretations are also available whenever that is required, and you just go through only PG data, whatever you want. So that gives clarity in terms of view and clarity in terms of thought too.
Right. That makes it a lot easier. Like students can, it is between like this. They can have a peace of mind and spend time with family, and they can also manage the counseling at the same time. Otherwise, they'll have to, undergo a lot of stress and keep checking all these websites.
I think today it is a practice that many candidates work with their families, parents, to look at data in ZyNerd. So when they look at it, there is feedback definitely that the structure that we have put in is helping. There are definitely good suggestions too on how we can make it better. We are working on that. But the structure that we have put in terms of how we represent the data, there is good feedback. That beyond the allotments, closing ranks, etc., how every information reaches them, let's say through messages, pop-ups, bulletins, or in terms of push notifications that we have come up with. So all that will help them.
And these updates, I would say, they are, like in my experience, I would say that's very crucial, because in case a notification is being published, but you're not able to see it in that web page, but it is available on the ZyNerd portal. Because each notification is important, right? Because if they don't go and join that seat, then there's a chance that they might miss a good seat.
Correct. So usually it is usually that does not happen to that extent, like missing a good seat, but missing a deadline usually happens. As in basically, if you're able to, joining documents related confusions are less, but missing a deadline usually happens. Lots of candidates come back to us and say that we are not able to know when the deadline is. But then we take them through the portal and say that you just filter out on the counseling, you will have the deadline over here. And then they follow it and they are able to know the exact deadlines. The second part is it also makes it easier for them to know what I need to do based on multiple deadlines. All India deadlines are these, state deadlines are this. I will be able to take a call between both based on that deadline. So that there too, the announcements and updates help. Definitely beyond the notifications, we also have the interpretation, which also helps definitely.
Right. And in terms of you had mentioned about the court cases.
Correct.
Right. This is something that we do beyond the data part or the support part. Have there been any instances where we got involved in these cases or influenced?
So We don't usually get involved in court
Okay.
cases because there are always two sides, and
Right.
we don't. At times, it happens that when there are two opinions or two suggestions, we don't know which one is right in terms of how to implement a particular policy. The domicile case is one example where the Supreme Court directions are there, but we are not sure how it will be implemented, etc. We are actually not sure about that. We know everything about the case and the judgment, which we have mentioned, we have shared as a video session. But beyond that, we are not clear about how this will pan out across this year's counselling and whether states will implement it. So we are kind of interpreters of the court cases and telling them, if this happens, what will be the impact? How can you be ready for that? But in earlier years, we have definitely been working with candidates. Like in 2021, I think there was this case on DNB. So basically, NBE had come up with a process where it was not as per merit. Doctors took it up. Basically, the second round process and third round process did not allow for upgradation, and there was a lot of candidates who were not even involved in the process getting allotted. You'd be surprised to know that around 1,000 candidates who did not fill choices for round 2 kept getting allotted in NBE courses because they filled in choices in round 1, but they had gone out of the process. Still, they were allotted. So this used to happen. Around 800 odd candidates were allotted. We took this up in the next year. Last year they made this mistake. We took this up in the next year. Doctors took it up, but since it was process related, it was completely based on data. We have provided the entire data backing to tell the courts that NBE is making a mistake and they are not accepting that mistake. That was immediately sorted out. They had a process put in place for completely making the process more efficient, and that complete data support in terms of affidavits, everything we had provided. So that is what we are saying. The inputs come in from the doctors, but the expertise in terms of the process and the data part comes in from us. Came in from us in that case. Similar cases we have managed where everybody is on the same side, where there is a lot of it is possibly towards merit. We definitely get involved in those court cases as well. Very, I'm not sure whether it is a coincidence, but the next year onwards, NBU took a call to conduct their counselling along with All India because it was a better process.
Right. And one unique feature about ZyNerd is our customer support. We have been getting a lot of positive feedback about our customer support where all the queries are being answered. And like there was one customer specifically who said that they tried the official helplines, but during deadlines, it might be that they are overloaded or they didn't pick up the calls, but ZyNerd was able to help them. How do we manage that part?
So the helplines of the states and MCC helpline, they try the level best. It is not to say that they're not good, but everywhere, wherever there is a helpline, whether it is ZyNerd or MCC, somebody is training someone with expertise, correct? So there are always challenges. Even we face challenges in terms of how we train, etc., and ensure that the right kind of response goes to candidate. We have a structured process, but still that is a challenge that anyone faces. The MCC helplines are not overloaded, but the MCC helplines are given a possible information which is not up to the extent what a candidate wants. And second, they are not trained to possibly look at past years happenings, what happened in the previous years, and interpret the entire rules themselves. So there is a challenge there. So usually when somebody calls up an MCC helpline versus when someone calls up ZyNerd, they would understand that we are very clear about what is happening, possibly better than even what an MCC helpline offers. You would usually see comments on that after round 1. I called up MCC helpline and they mentioned this, but ZyNerd is mentioning a different response, etc. So we will give them enough GOs, enough things to say that MCC helpline is not right in this aspect. So anyone who calls up, if there is a query on how this data is sourced, we give them proper source or backup information. So that we share, and then they are confident that they keep calling us rather than the state helplines. Some state helplines are generally choked, so they might not be able to reach up to the state helplines. Like Karnataka counselling happens, the Karnataka counselling helpline will be choked because there are a lot of errors, etc. At that point in time, they call us and we will be able to give solutions to that basis, like what I said, our expertise or what we have done. So we do that back end work so that immediately a query is resolved.
Right, and all the queries that we clear, it is all backed by the data that the other teams have prepared and go through a lot of validation.
We have GOs. So if there is a stipend, we have either GOs, we have the prospectus, or we have internal notifications or internal communication that has been sent, which has been shared in public, or we go with previous year candidates information. We talk to the nodal officers and get information. So we have a multiple levels of sources. One or two of those would be available, and we share it with the candidates when there is information. Very rarely, for around 5% of stipend, fee, etc., we go with candidates information. In that case, we rely on somebody else's information, and we would also mention that in the portal.
Right. And candidates will have some kind of anxiety, right? They'll have a doubt. It might seem kind of silly, or it might seem like a very small doubt, right? And we always tell people, like even in our communications, we always say, however small the doubt is, always like call us and get that cleared.
Correct.
Because that is a huge decision.
Very true. Because this is something very important for your decisions. We run videos. There is a prospectus, they read the prospectus, we run videos, we clearly communicate that round 2 to round 3 upgradation is possible in all India. But still candidates will have the query on whether it is actually right. So immediately after the session, we will receive calls saying, this was mentioned in the session, is it right? We do understand that it is not, because nobody trusts the session. We understand that at this level, when there is so much involved, there is an assurance that is always required. We give that assurance. And every time after we run a session, we also know that these are the queries that are going to come up. We'll be ready for these queries, and this is the response that we need to give, because the primary thing is, as long as you're not anxious, you're stress-free during the counseling process, right decisions will be made.
Right. And in terms of data transparency, like you said, we always refer to GOs so that there is a trust when we are giving that information. And in your experience, how have like students responded to this in terms of transparency and trust? What has been the inputs?
Inputs in terms of transparency and trust, we only get from feedback. We don't have a mechanism to gather much of information. We have feedback and a few testimonials from candidates which they give. Feedback has been really good in terms of the trust that they carry on the data and on ZyNerd. One is trust on the data, the information, the services that we provide. Second is in terms of what is very heartening is to see that they have trust in ZyNerd as a brand, that we are completely ethical. We are for the candidates. We try our level best to do that. Is at least something that they've seen with us, basically. So that we are really happy about. They know that if ZyNerd can do something with the resources that they have, they will try their level best to do something. So that feedback has come in. If you go to the reviews, most of the reviews are negative reviews, possibly will be on OTP not coming in on time and things like that. But most of the positive reviews, very rarely you will have a negative review on the data, etc. But otherwise, most of the positive reviews will be on call support, the UI, UX, the experience that they had, and possibly even the emotional support that ZyNerd had offered throughout the counseling process.
Yeah, that emotional support, that is something which we also noticed. Like last year when we were traveling, pan-India, to get testimonials from people and build that community, that is something which a lot of people mention, that they chose some other alternative, but the support and that emotional guidance which a lot of people didn't get that. Like one parent mentioned that they used to call us and speak to us like at least for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and they used to get that emotional support. I think that is something, that care and attention to detail is something which...
True. It is so primarily when there is a initial parts of the counseling. In the initial parts of the counseling, there is always this question on what is given for this value, and there will be a lot of queries on group 2. It is very costly, etc. But at the end of the counseling, you get feedback from the same candidate. You would have gone through the entire 4 months process, and almost all of them tell us that it was worth it. Now that comes in because when somebody calls, we consider that we need to do our level best, and it is beyond the data, all the services that we provide. There is also a support required for them to believe that somebody is there with you till the end of the counseling process. We put in efforts to do that. That is something that we consider beyond the services, but still, that helps.
And sometimes when we are like last year and all, we had this issue where we used to get too many calls. We were also kind of choked at that point.
Yeah, true. And that is true. There was a lot of waiting time. That was some problem last year, which we have sorted out this
Right,
year. This year is almost very minimal waiting time,
Right.
and that too only during 15-20 minutes of peak hours.
Right.
So otherwise we've sorted that out. But last year the response was tremendous. This year the response is still good, but we have been able to scale
Right.
up to that. And
Right. And we make sure that we, even if there is a doubt which, like one person mentioned that there was a doubt which a call representative couldn't answer or they were not clear about it, but they got their expertise and then they call back
yeah,
that.
true. So it is not that everybody creating expertise is very difficult. So you can't create 500 people with expertise over a short period of time.
Right. And it's important not to give incorrect information.
So no information is at times better than wrong information. That is what we always believe.
Right.
But trying to get that information is something that we put in our efforts on. So if somebody calls up and they are put on hold, usually they think that the person does not have expertise. It is not that the person does not have expertise. It might have been a query that requires an affirmation, and that 20 seconds of wait might still get you that affirmation saying that this is the right response. So everyone is trained on that. If the information is not there very clearly, you always go back, take time, give information. We call up people once. We call up after the regular call support time, and we tell them that we have got this information now. This is where we got the information from, and you can use this. So new queries come to us. A lot of new queries come to us, as in which on rules, regulations which did not exist earlier, new interpretation of rules, etc. So when we have queries, we call up the authorities, nodal officers. We try to interpret it based on court cases, and then go back to them with the right information.
Right. Okay, I think that wraps up the counseling part. So in terms of the future of the counseling, how do you think it is going to be? Right now, it is kind of complicated, and that's where like we are supporting the candidates, right, to clear all their doubts and give them peace of mind. Like, how is it going to be in the future? What do you think?
Really not sure how it is going to pan out, majorly because of decisions on rules and regulations. Supreme Court case on domicile is going to be a major factor as far as PG counselling is concerned, because the entire structure of the counselling process in terms of all India versus state will depend on that. So that is one part to it. The second part is in terms of rules and regulations of states, etc. So those might keep varying. So if the structure is very simple and there's a lot of standardization, like in terms of fee or bond and stipend details, if there is standardization, that makes it very easier for the candidates. And if that happens, it is candidates might not even require such levels of data crunching to get into it. They might purely work on rules, regulations, strategy, etc. So that is one thing that we expect. Second, in terms of other artificial intelligence and other models coming in, how best can you use that is something that we are also exploring. How best the candidate can use it. Today you can go to ChatGPT, but ChatGPT says that all India round 2 to round 3 is not upgradation is not possible. So right now we are wary of that part, but how we can take this model and build a trustful engine is what we are also looking at. Beyond that, the post-graduation competition, that is also very critical in this sense. So today we have around 2.3 lakh people participating in the counselling, almost a 10% increase every year. But 1 lakh MBBS candidates are going to come out. This year there is 1 lakh, 5 years later 1 lakh MBBS candidates will pass out every year. So that is going to add on to the competition. So that is something that we are looking at as well. If that adds on to the competition, even smaller factors play in a bigger role in terms of how you get your...
But the number of seats is not
correct. It is not proportionate at all. Even though the government has mentioned that they will increase the total number of seats by 75,000 in the next 5 years, MBBS and PG put together. But it is extremely difficult because there are a lot of other resources also required. So it might not be, whatever they do, it will never be the number of MBBS and PG seats are the same. That will never be possible with the current expansion too. So that is going to be very difficult. It is going to be tougher, and how we are able to scale up to give them enough information to get the best choice for them is also something that we are looking at, consistently looking at bettering our portal and the services that we offer.
Right. Okay, so to finish off, what advice would you give students and possibly few parents who are out there?
We would say first thing is your primary thing now is to look at counselings and spend time on the choices that you are going to fill. Curiosity versus actual effort put in on choices that you are going to fill. The choices that you're going to fill will give you results. So basically, instead of looking at I've got this marks, this rank, will I get this kind of a direction? You always approach it saying, I've got this rank, what was possible last year? Let me get into the actual crux of how to manage the counseling. That is one part. Second, guidance on counseling. Please go with trustworthy sources. If you're looking at guidance, it is very, very important that the source is trustworthy. The source is on your side rather than on the institute side or the admissions. They're looking into admitting you somewhere, etc. So that is very, very critical. And third, go with accurate and right information for decisions. Anytime question somebody giving you an interpretation of a rule, regulation, etc. Ask them where that rule is, even if it is ZyNerd. Question, give me the GO, give me the details, and that will help you in taking the right decisions. There have been a lot of candidates who also told us that they've gone with wrong decisions. They paid to somebody 2 lakhs to somebody who did not even apply for the counseling. So last one, do seat evaluation yourself. Do not rely on somebody else's decisions for you. You get a choice list, that should be your choice list. You fill in a choice list, that should be your choice list, and that should clearly be based on your factors and not somebody else deciding for you. So throughout the counseling, keep tab of every notification and announcement. Don't miss out everything. So this, if you are able to do this and take decisions based on updated data, you will be able to crack the counseling. Not difficult, but effort needs to be put in.
And there is a quote which says, if a product is free, then you are the product. What are your thoughts on that? Because I'm asking this specifically because there are YouTube channels which will have clickbaity thumbnails and titles.
Those are mostly for subscribers. But I would say, I wouldn't say that if a product is free, it is not good. We were also providing free information. At that time, it was good. We put in all the effort to give right information. But if a product is free, always look at whether it is sufficient for you to get that value that you need. Just because something is free does not mean that you get everything that you want. Or rather, if there is a value associated with the cost, then look at what it can get you, basically. Whether is it necessary for you. Always do that evaluation. It is not between a free product plus a product at a cost. It is between what you need versus where is it available. So
So don't go with incomplete information because it is a crucial thing, right? The counseling is a crucial thing. Don't go with
if it is complete information, what you want, cost is not the right parameter to decide. Go for complete information is what I would say.
I think that's a good place to close. Thank you, Mr. Ashok.
Thank you, Noy.